Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Anime Dudes podcast. My name is Bjorvio, and joining me on this wonderful and exquisite and tasteful episode is.
It's the anime dad.
Isn't he just a gem, folks? Give him a big round of applause. Yeah! We were talking in our falsettos before recording, and it's one of my favorite things to do, honestly.
We should do the whole podcast in it. What do you think?
No, that's too much. That's too much. We need your richness, rich Chris Sabat voice for the podcast. That's the reason people listen.
All right. Well, I'll just alternate between the two for this next part. We want to thank you all for tuning into this episode today. And please, if you haven't already, please give us a like and whatever you do on Spotify. Like, comment, review, all that stuff really helps us support. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from all you guys so far, so we really, really appreciate that. But we're not done yet. We want you to keep going and keep participating because this is much of a community to us, as it should be to all of you as well.
That was a perfect intro. That was amazing. And today we're talking about the forest training arc and Deku's fight with Muscular. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. That's today.
My goodness. I love these episodes. I love them. Well, let's get right to it then. So, it begins off. The bus pulls over. Maneta pees his pants. Which is my highlight, actually, for today. It's
S tier part of the whole episode. S tier part of the arc.
At the same time. My goodness, we think the same. It is my S tier moment. Thank you very much. It is. No, it's and then they fight those cool. They fight these incredible monsters that one of the wild pussycats has, and that's quite a cool moment, hey.
It is, and she has such a fantastic work. I think the Wild Pussycats are very, very underrated in the fandom. Like, some people either love them or some people think they're annoying as crap. I'm somewhere in more towards they're really cool. Yeah. And especially this one. I don't remember this one's Pixie Bob. I don't know all of their names except for Tiger because that one's really obvious. But the way that she challenges the entire class with one quirk. And we see her at the end just like, oh, hey, thanks, guys, for coming over. And I'm like, wait, what? How powerful is your quirk?
I know. It doesn't seem like there's a limit to it. It seems amazing. And I suppose that's why some people wanted the quirk, you know. That's a quirk that was stolen, I believe. But we'll get to that later.
I don't think it was.
No? Wasn't?
I don't think so. No, it was Search that was taken.
Ah, yes.
Which that one's also really overpowered.
Yes, it is. All right, well, I'm going to give you some quick fire things. Tiger
oh boy,
versus a few heroes, and you just give me who's going to win, okay?
All
Tiger
right,
versus Eraserhead.
Eraserhead.
Tiger versus Endeavor.
Endeavor.
Tiger versus Hawks.
Quick fire, no thinking. I'll give it to him. I'll give it to Tiger this time.
Tiger versus Twice.
Current Twice. Tiger.
Current Twice. Yeah, that's super easy. All right, two more. Current versus Gravity.
Oh, Tiger, hands down.
And Tiger versus Miss Midnight.
Tiger, 100%. Actually, no, Miss Midnight's quirk works better on men, so I'm going to actually go back and say her. Okay. I'm also going to make a correction. I can't live with myself. Hawks is going to win. I'm sorry. I keep playing it back in my head, and I'm second guessing, and now I'm sweating out places I shouldn't be sweating.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I feel much better now that I've gotten that off my chest.
Yeah, Hawks is too blooming good. All right, then they get to the place. They start they get made this beautiful food, which they eat, and Momo talks about how her quirk works, which is interesting. It'd be easy to lose weight with her quirk, I'm sure.
Right. That's what I was thinking with her quirk is it's like it's kind of like fat gum. You have to eat a lot and then you lose it. And she never really loses it like fat gum does. And I'm sure there's a reason for that, but I'm not going to say it. It's implied.
That's actually very true. My goodness. And then Deku oh no, we missed out that point. But when Deku walks over to little man who was in your TikTok team,
Kota, yep.
Kota.
We get the other S tier moment of the entire arc.
Definitely. He gets punched in the gonads. And he takes Deku down. And I think, looking back, I think Kota, when he looks in the future and he sees Deku being the number one hero or whatever, he's going to say, I took that guy down with one punch, you know?
Yeah, it's funny that the United States of Smash actually happens later in this arc because I think Deku definitely got smashed.
That's actually so true. That's so true. And do you sympathize with his situation, with Kota's situation?
I do. I mean, can you imagine if both of your parents, which can we also be a little honest, like both of his parents had water quirks? That's pretty freaking cool, but out of the entire population, that's not a very high percentage. It makes me wonder. But anyway, yes, I sympathize with Kota's situation. I think he's got, I understand to some extent why he doesn't like heroes. For me personally, I feel like I would be more of like, no, villains need to go. I need to be a hero. But again, that's me putting myself in that situation, not, Kota's obviously got a different mindset than me. I wouldn't have punched Midoriya there.
Well, that makes one of us, okay? Because anyone, Midoriya he does stick his nose where he doesn't belong a lot of the time. And
no denying that. But Kota does have a really interesting moment in the arc going back to when, and I think you might know what I'm talking about, when they're in the hot tubs and, well, Mineta does what Mineta does.
And then Kota falls off. Oh no, he's actually trying to protect the girls. He falls off, Deku rushes in there with his ripped up bod and grabs Kota, takes him, and then you hear about his story a little bit. But moving forward a little bit to them training and improving their quirks, and now what quirk training do you think was the most intense?
Oh man, easily Sero. Like if you look at Home Dude, like he is sitting there with his elbows out, just crying profusely, just tape coming out, and just in utter agony. And then we see other people like Ida's just running, Invisible Girl is just walking, and Tentacle Arms is just looking for it. It's like, oh, that's really great. Versus literal Sero is like on the verge of dying.
That's true. That's true. Because his tape would come out like Momo's. I'm sure it's a lipid thing that is
right.
like a creation type quirk. Where would it
right,
come
but
from?
unlike Momo, he doesn't have food with him.
Yeah, that's very true. He's just standing there and like you're right, dying and being malnourished. That is, I think that's a plot hole. So thanks for bringing that up.
It is a plot hole.
I'm gonna write to the team at Funimation or no, Japan.
Now, what about you? Was that your number one as well, or do you have somebody else in mind?
Well, Dark Shadow, I feel bad about.
Yes.
Being locked in that cave, being attacked by your inner demon, it like your inner monster. It just sounds terrifying. He can't control it. He's and we saw him a little bit later on, being dragged around by him. It's a terrifying situation. So yeah, that's quite a scary one for sure. Bakugo and hot water to cold water to hot water to cold water. Deku fighting Tiger and getting. That was a weird moment of him punching the air and kicking that didn't look too intense, but yeah, I'm the same. And then obviously, Eraserhead takes the kids away. The other kids have that nighttime terror thing that's going to happen, and things suddenly turn bad. And Eraserhead walks out there. He says Vlad, which I only realized Vlad's the other. He says Vlad, and he gets that fire in his face. Dodges it,
Yep.
goes for Darby. Vlad's quirk. What do you think about that?
You know, it reminds me a little bit of a character from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood that we see early on, but worse. I won't get into too much detail as to why, but it's like, oh, I can shoot out my blood, but what are the symptoms of blood loss? Like, that's not something you can really help with, you know? Like, and he doesn't carry around bags of blood to like help out or anything. He's just using his own. I don't know. I don't like it's cool and all, but it's got some pretty serious drawbacks when you think about it.
That is actually true. Could you? All right, quickfire. Him versus Hero Killer.
Oh, Stain, 100%. He's literally giving Stain ammo.
That would be the worst combination ever.
For sure. Stain, that's just a free buffet for both him or Toga.
You're right about that. He's a bad combination for them. And they start attacking. And then obviously we get Deku running off to help Kota, and we get Class 1B going in for the kill against Gas Boy. And now Gas Boy is interesting. He's a student from another school who's been suckered into the villains. And
Right. And
yeah,
that was actually a pretty cool little twist. Like, I didn't see that coming. Did you see that at all?
not at all. It was unique. Obviously, maybe this boy has some negative thinking towards the hero life, and maybe he tried out for UA, or he tried out for these big schools, but he didn't get there. So he thinks negatively. He wants to bring down the whole hero lifestyle. He's got a cool quirk,
He does.
but it doesn't suit robots. So maybe that particular, when he initially did the exams to get into the school, he couldn't suit because he couldn't.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he couldn't.
That's a really good point.
knock the robots out with that particular quirk. So yeah, I mean, that whole hero philosophy has its flaws, and it obviously brings kids to the other side. So you can imagine how many other kids have been brought over to the dark side because they couldn't make it into one of these schools, or they couldn't be a hero. And you look into the future, Gentle Criminal, another guy,
Great example.
couldn't make it, who went to the dark side. So I'm sure there are such a massive amount of people who are joining the side of Shigaraki because of that reason. But he has a cool quirk, a really cool quirk, and he can control it and sense through the gas where people are, which is mind-blowing. It's really, really good. Now, all right, quickfire. Him versus Midnight.
Honestly, probably him. I think he has more range than Midnight does.
Yeah, I agree. And he can control it better than Midnight. It seems like Midnight just rips off something and it goes into the distance. But
Yeah. I don't think she can sense anyone in hers like he can either.
no, that's a good point. All right, then we find out that Muscular is actually the man. A horrible coincidence. He was the man who took out Kota's parents. Sad, terrifying entrance of Muscular pulling his thing off. And wow, Muscular is... What do you think of Muscular?
Horrifying design.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrifying design. Very, very powerful quirk. I mean, just the implications of what Deku had to do to beat him. I mean, this dude took a smash from All Might, maybe not in his prime, but pretty darn close, and just got right back up. That's terrifying to think about. Like, this dude probably had a better chance of surviving the United States of Smash than All For One did.
Yeah, good point. And you know what? I think Muscular could have been an incredible hero, but do you know what he's lacking? The smarts. He's not a smart guy. He doesn't seem tremendously aware or smart or book smart. So his grades wouldn't have been good enough to get into these big schools again.
Good point.
And
Yeah,
he
I
got
hadn't thought of that.
he got took to the other side because of that particular reason. So again, there's a flaws in the whole hero philosophy and hero way to get to become a hero. So that should be looked at by the president of Japan at that time.
It should. The other thing I wanted to mention with this fight, while we're on the topic of Muscular and Deku, is Muscular, when he makes his grand entrance, he's real powerful, he's real strong, and quite honestly, he probably should have won the fight. It's really cool that he didn't or win, like what Deku had to do. But my question revolves around the way that One for All works, because One for All is stored power. If Deku used One for All at 1,000,000%, then he must have drained One for All for basically all that it had, but then he's using it not too long after that. So I'm like, where is he getting all of this stored power from? I don't know. That's a plot hole for me personally.
He should have exploded or died after that. He should have exploded. His arm should have come off. He should have morphed into a little blob ball. You're right. 1,000,000%.
And so should have Muscular. I mean, think about it. Dude was knocked down with 100%. Maybe 500 would have been enough. No, he skipped the thousands. He skipped the 10,000s. He skipped the 100,000s. He's like, nah, screw this. I'm going One for All times 1,000,000%. Bro should have been atoms by that point.
That is so true. He should have actually blown up the whole forest with that particular blast. But you know what I think it was? Now thinking about it as I'm protecting the brand, I think he has broken arms. He can't control One for All to that degree. He just thought of a number that he was so delusional. He thought of a number that 1,000,000%, but it was probably about 120%. You know what I mean? It probably came out as 120%, even though he said 1,000,000.
Yeah, it'd also be interesting if maybe he accessed a quirk that he'd get later on, maybe, and didn't know it. Like, but I think that was before One for All had its awakening. I don't know. We could speculate on this for hours.
That's so true. And then Muscular gets taken out. Now, he was obviously running on adrenaline at that point, and well done for catching Kota with his mouth. Kota could have died after that particular thing. He caught Kota with his mouth. He still thought about the person he was trying to save, which is incredible. And they ran off, and he finds, obviously, they had a great idea with Dark Shadow chasing after and taking out that Tooth Man, which is, again, terrifying man. My goodness, that villain with his teeth coming out of blades. Terrifying. And then they realized that
being his dentist.
They realized they're going after Bakugo because of what Muscular had said. Mr. Compress comes into the fold, makes them all turn into little balls of people. And unfortunately, the last moment there of Bakugo being taken and pulled back into that warp gate. And what did he say to Deku?
Stay back, Deku. Something like that.
Stay back, Deku. Yeah, sad moment, very sad. And I remember thinking to myself, "Flip, this is terrifying." They didn't get him, but I'm glad no one else has been killed. And the last moments is showing where the Momo is being chased by that Nomu. The Nomu gets called back. Very great arc, and what a way to finish that arc with Bakugo being taken. What was your thought process there?
I thought this was a great way to introduce a lot of villains that would become super important to the plot later on. And a lot of them had fantastic entrances, like Dabi, Toga, Compress. This is one of the best times we ever see Compress do anything. This is also the only time we see Spinner do anything. If we're being honest. But
do you mean Michelangelo?
Yes. Why have I never put two and two together on that? That's good. But the fact that they not only had such grand entrances, but the fact that they essentially succeeded. I mean, yeah, they lost two of their men, and the heroes lost one, but a lot of heroes were injured, and only two villains were the ones that got captured. And other than that, they just can't. They did what they wanted to do, and that's such a great way to introduce so many of these villains that we're going to get to know later on throughout the story. I loved it, and especially because you at the time they make you feel like, oh crap, they got Bakugo. Oh crap, he's the one that might actually join them. Like the way that they set all that up is wonderful.
It is really wonderful, and that's a good spot to leave it before we move on to the next arc. But that it's an incredible arc, one of my favorites of all time. And the fight with Deku and the way he pulls it out and takes out this muscular, incredible villain is incredible. Now you had a story you wanted to bring up. You were on the live, and can you explain it to me? One of our fans brought up a story that was I'm very curious about, and I'd like to know.
So he gave me an improv thing for us to do, and so I will save the improv for the end because you need the story to understand said improv scene. And that is, I went to Disney with two of my bros last year, and we had an absolute great time. But every time that we would go in the morning, you know, they're big coffee people, I'm big tea people, but we'd be going to this place that's a Disney exclusive, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure, called Joffrey's Coffee. And every time we'd walk by, I'd be, you know, my wife and I go there, and I love it. It's so good. They got such a great tea and everything. And so I'd be like, hey guys, let's go to Joffrey's. And they're like, oh, well, we're going to go to Starbucks. You know, it's right over here. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And later in the day, it'd be getting a little hot. So I'm like, hey, if you want to cool down, there's some Joffrey's coffee. We can go get that. You know, I'm actually really wanting them to try it. And they think that I'm kind of being this TV spokesperson almost. And so as we're going, I mentioned it again. And one of the guy goes, is like, all right, dude. So what you're telling me is if you drink Joffrey's coffee, it's going to make all your hair grow. And I'm like, and at this point, I'm like, yeah, not only is it going to make your hair grow, it's going to file your taxes for you. It's going to help you find the Infinity Stones so that you can put them all in the Infinity Gauntlet. It will help you find Waldo before anyone else does, and Carmen Sandiego. And best of all, this stuff will taste so good that it will fulfill all your daily nutrition in one sip. But if you keep going over it, it's fine. Your body knows what to do with it. Why? Because it's delicious and nutritious Joffrey's coffee. And so it got to the point where we'd be walking around the place, and every single time we saw one, they'd be like, oh boy, here we go. And I'd turn into a walking spokesperson for this coffee brand. So,
quick sponsor break. Joffrey's coffee. It can turn you Super Saiyan. With one sip. That's an amazing story. My goodness.
If you're looking to use one for all at 100%, please use Joffrey's coffee. If you're looking to use it at 1,000,000%, yes, please take a second sip.
Yeah, just 2 sips is 1,000,000. So from 100 to 1,000,000. No, I've heard we need it in New Zealand, and that sounds very, very special. So what was the improv scene from that particular moment?
So the improv scene was he wanted us to do, he said Yoda, but I'm okay if you want to change that. You be Yoda and me be All Might in line at Starbucks, and I do like a promotional ad for why you shouldn't go to Starbucks. You should go to Joffrey's Coffee.
Alrighty, I'll start with Yoda then. Starbucks we must go to.
Not bad. Starbucks! Why would any hero drink that? We need to drink the most delicious and nutritious coffee in the world. Look at me. This was before I had my first sip this morning. I looked pretty much like this. But then I had one sip and now I look just like this.
Oh my good. Oh my word. I'm starting to say, that's incredible. I want to look like Buff Yoda. I do.
Buff Yoda, You think you're good now, being Grand Master of the Jedi Council. Let me show you. You can be Grand Master of the entire Galactic Senate. All you need is one lick of the ice cube that the coffee was in. And not only that, you'll lose 400 years. You're like, what, 900 or something? It'll take you down to 458 easily.
Amazing, that is. I want Joffrey's... Now I do.
Never fear, because I am here with a gift card that I already had. Not to mention I already signed it just for you, my old, wise friend.
Thank you. Baby Yoda, I turn into. That's amazing. That's incredible, bro. You do All Might so well. Joffrey's coffee, if we're not getting free Joffrey's coffee after this, I'm going to be really annoyed because that was perfect. And if they don't use that in some way in their marketing, let's DM them this particular clip, because you should be the spokesperson for Joffrey's coffee after this.
I unofficially am, I feel like. I mean, now it's just, for the good, because out of the goodness of my own heart and my actual love for this brand. And now it's also because it annoys my friends, and I think that's hilarious.
Oh my goodness. All right, they're going to love it today. That's perfect. All right, well, because it was such an intensely villain arc, could you take us out with Shigaraki, potentially?
Sure thing.
Thank you for listening to this incredible podcast. We hope you had a very good time today while we talked about all of my friends from the League. If you enjoy what you're listening to, please give us a like. It would mean a lot. And it would also mean that I'm not going to decay you when I take over this world. So if you want to ensure your survival, please follow for more episodes and have a fantastic week. Watch over your shoulder.